The Soybean School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Pride Seeds, Nodulator Pro, and Cruiser Max Vibrance Beans.
Bern Tobin here down in Chatham, Ontario today, talking with Dan Foster from Pride Seeds. We're getting ready to roll. Just pulled him out of the field to talk a little bit of soybeans today. Hey, thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful day here, 23 degrees, April 26th. What more could we ask for?
Well, let's get some crop in the ground.
Absolutely. A little bit of crop in the ground around here. You know, got started a little bit the end of last week. We got some corn in the ground, had a little bit of a rain delay. Some more corn going in the ground this week, really from the lighter grounds from a little bit northwest of Chatham, heading down towards Rodney. You get outside of that into the clay grounds, not a lot happening yet. A little bit of nitrogen going on wheat in those areas as those fields dry up. Great time to do that. Also getting some herbicide on some wheat. Time to get that done too. So, you know, things are really shaping up, but we are only April 26th. So if, you know, if that ground's not fit, no need to rush it right now. But the ground is a lot warmer than it was last year at this time, and drier. So I'm pretty excited. You know, we're having fun. It's beautiful. It's warm.
Yeah. You and I talk. It could be raining. Hey, let's talk about I guess some of the technology and some of the insights we learned this winter. Obviously, the big conversation, the big one coming out this year: extend soybeans, dicamba tolerant. Talk a little bit about you know, what your thinking is on the technology, on the new varieties, where they fit, and how we can manage them.
So, one of the most exciting things to come to soybeans in a long time, we've basically revamped the whole soybean lineup from a lot of companies with extend varieties. So, biggest thing we heard about this winter is spraying dicamba products that are out there on our soybean ground where those extend soybeans are. The fear of God's been put in us all. You know, we got to run the right tips, spray under the right conditions, make sure our weather inversions. I think the Twitter sphere has explained what a weather or a temperature inversion is. So a lot of things we have to be cautious of that we've maybe gotten quite lazy with just spraying glyphosate in the past. So to that though, exciting spray option. We've got some resistant weeds out there. Fleabane is really starting to show some issues out there, and you know, this spring, this weather, we got a lot of weeds up right now. Yeah, we need to be planting corn once that ground's fit, but let's face it, we got to be spraying some herbicides. You know, that burn down needs to get done, and we got some fair-sized fleabane coming along. It's had a great winter of growth. You could see on Twitter, Richard Anderson, you know, he was showing some pictures of, you know, back in February they're growing. So out in my wheat fields right now that I've been walking and planting plots, we got lots of weeds out there. So spray that in your burn down. Do be aware though that you know, we're only April 26th right now. Super windy out there, so today's not a good day for doing it. Today. Not at all. So we need to be doing it under the right conditions, but we can't wait. You know, we only have a 14-day window of residual with this product. But you know, fleabane, giant ragweed, those are our two biggest concerns right now, and they're both up and going. So let's get them covered. You know, we can always do another APA Roundup again. We don't have to spray it in crop. It's a nice technology that way. So, you know, just because you're growing it doesn't mean you have to use it.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about planting populations. A lot of discussion this year over the winter about, you know, wider rows versus narrow rows and pushing those populations. What you thinking there?
So I'm a big proponent of, after seeing these extend soybeans, the treatments we've got out there, I really think, you know, and as a seed guy, maybe this is going a little backwards, but I think we're overplanting our soybeans. I think we can drop our populations down maybe 10% at all levels. 30-inch soybeans really becoming a big thing for us in the Southwest, as well as other areas, but in the Southwest we've been a lot of 15s and 7.5s over the years, but with seed costs and the better planters with down pressure and everything, guys are looking at using that same planter for more as we go forward. So 30-inch row, you know, excellent opportunity. Caution on the clay. Yep. If you got some heavy clays, I just worry that it's not going to get big enough if we have a dry summer. Won't canopy. We've got more weeds coming up. We've got light hitting the ground. We're not using all our photosynthesis to create a crop. So be aware of that. But on your loams and on your rich grounds where mold's a potential, let's remember 3 years ago we had white mold like crazy. We're going to be back on some of those fields again. It doesn't go away. So, you know, control your populations. 30-inch row, 130, 140,000. I've had guys go as low as 110 and not lose anything in yield. 15-inch row, you know, if you've been planting 180s, you know, with an extend, I think we could drop it down into the 170. Yeah. You know, there's just, we need to let those beans branch out a little bit more. We saw some really good looking beans last year in wider rows. So 7.5-inch rows, you know, as Johnson would say, we're just spilling it out there. And that's maybe the one thing I agree with him on in this world. But we can do a much better job. And last year we had soybeans planted in rows and with drills, and the better seed depth done by the row planters really helped a lot of guys get better beans when it turned super dry, because they were actually in the right spot versus the drill bouncing around and not putting them down as good.
I want to talk a little bit about nutrition, feeding soybeans. A lot of talk this winter about, hey, you know, we're not feeding our soybeans enough. I think you agree with that.
Absolutely. I am 100% behind that. You know, yes, phosphorus, we have to be careful where we put it. We got to be good environmental stewards of the land, but let's face it, we're pulling off huge corn yields. We're pulling off huge wheat yields last year. We're going in with soybeans that historically we've said, all right, we'll fertilize the corn, we'll fertilize the wheat, and those soybeans, let them go scavenge for what they need, right? But I think it's been proven with research by Dr. Hooker, many other people, that the mass flow and giving those beans some phosphorus and some potassium, you know, whether it's in a 2x2 band, whether we're broadcasting, it's something we got to do. We can't get higher bean yields without feeding the crop that's there. You know, we've gone through some huge crops, and still not very many people feeding their soybeans like they feed their corn and like they feed their wheat. So hit some bigger corn or bigger bean yields, you know, I think we got to fertilize for them, and we haven't done that. And that's one thing I'll preach and preach and preach, Bern, is that we need to feed those soybeans.